BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the BumbleKing, and joining me, as always, is my co-host for 75 consecutive episodes, Kyle JCRB Krause.
Hello! How are you doing? I am alive!
Which was up for the debate for a little while there.
It kind of was! I don't recommend pneumonia. If you get the chance, don't experience it.
No, it is not fun.
No, not really. If you have the chance to have pneumonia, I recommend you pass on it. I mean, if you have the choice. Usually when you get pneumonia, you don't have the choice. But if you happen to have the choice, I recommend you don't have it. Because it laid me out for a solid week, and then was still affecting me for the next week. Yeah. And then you got busy. You had, you went to some exciting stuff. You had some exciting stuff going on. And so we missed most of August. So
we are completely out of sync.
Yes, we are. Sorry about that. We've ruined everything. But yeah, it's basically we missed most of August because things and life. So sorry about that, folks. But we're back.
The thing I did was Fan Expo in Toronto. 4 days of meeting cool people and signing autographs and saying hey, and I managed to not get the con crud from it.
Wow, that's awesome. That's the best part.
There's this beautiful drug up here called Cold FX, apparently endorsed by every hockey player ever. And you just kind of pop that one. You could pop a couple of pills when you start to feel the sniffles, and most of the time, it manages to keep me from getting sick.
That's great.
Really impressive.
That's like magic. That's some super special FX.
I think the only time it hasn't worked is when it was like full-blown flu. And even then, it was after multiple exposures from multiple people. So
cool.
Yeah, I am very happy about that.
That is excellent.
So, because it is a big special anniversary episode, we're going to do the one thing that you guys love to hear from us, and that's some Q&A.
Yeah, we're doing a big Q&A blowout. We're going to go down the list. It's a long list. So, we're going to do our best to get through most all of the Q&A that's come in over the past long time. So,
but before we do that, it's been too long since we've had a BumbleRaffle. Kyle, who do we have winning today's BumbleRaffle?
Aluesnoc. I assume that's how that's pronounced. That's a good name. Aluesnoc. 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 Aluesnoc? I don't know. It's this person. Congratulations, you. You have won a prize. Contact us or we'll contact you. One of the two.
If you want to be as cool as them, write into BumbleKast@yahoo.com for each episode that you want to be entered into the raffle, or go to patreon.com/BumbleKast, become a patron, and you'll be automatically entered into every single drawing.
Congratulations, Aluesnoc. Enjoy your prize. Speaking of prizes, let's get into some not prizes. But maybe if we answer your question, you'll feel like a winner anyway.
Nice segue. I like that. We'll keep that.
Okay. Let's do Q&A.
Let's start off with the Patreon Q&A. These are the folks over at patreon.com that have donated $5 or more to our beautiful little podcast, and they get bumped to the head of the line. Now, everyone who asks a question will be answered at some point, but those who put in their $5 get to be answered first. If you want your question answered, go to email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com. Tweet to @BumbleKast using Twitter.com. Ask a question in the comment sections on any of the YouTube videos.
At YouTube.com.
Yeah. Or leave a comment just about anywhere on the Patreon page at patreon.com/BumbleKast.
I'm trying to look everywhere for questions. It's tough, but I'm trying to collect them all. They're like Pokemon. I'm throwing balls everywhere. I'm just like I've gone from throwing them to loading them into a cannon, and it's like a Gatling cannon of comment balls to try and catch them all. That's what it's gotten to. So I'm trying.
Also, head over to BumbleKing.com and look at the FAQ section. I have a Sonic-specific FAQ full of questions that you guys like to ask a whole bunch. And you don't have to wait for the BumbleKast. It's already answered. So go check out like all 14 of them.
Yes. You might need to expand that. I'm just saying.
We'll see. We'll
see.
But first off, let's get to that Patreon priority Q&A.
Of course, we got to start off with a good question from our buddy Scruffy Matt.
Howdy, Scruffy.
Reading the latest issue of Sonic and seeing Silver saying, "Oh, crap," got me thinking. Unless I'm mistaken, I think this is the first time a Sonic character in any official Sega licensed product has said crap, or anything stronger than "aw, geez," with the obvious exception of the Shadow the Hedgehog game.
Correct.
Fan-created material is obviously a whole different story, but I highly doubt any characters would have been allowed to say crap back in the Sonic comics of the 90s, or even in the comics of 2005 when Shadow the Hedgehog came out. So I was wondering, what do you feel is and is not okay to put in a comic book for kids these days, and how does that differ from what was not allowed in the past? Oh, and also, is Silver going to start asking where that damn fourth Chaos Emerald is? I don't think Shadow would appreciate Silver stepping on his turf.
Now, no, Silver's not going to start doing that because it really would be especially adorably dorky of him. I mean, Shadow's all grim and dark. Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald?
What an
Silver is not. Silver
is
is adorable. Where's that? Gosh darn! No, wait, that damn fourth Chaos Emerald. It just doesn't read right.
Shadow's such an edgelord.
Yes, he is. But I remember seeing a lot of these reactions when the issue came out, and this is where we're all going to have to agree to disagree. I don't see crap as a curse word.
I don't either.
Silver did not say a swear. Okay, that's with big air quotes going on. I mean, yeah, it's a terse. No, not terse. It's not a polite term, but it's not like an out and out swear word. It is a euphemism for stuff that we normally won't say on the show. It's not
a euphemism for fecal matter.
It's stronger than doo-doo, but it is definitely not in bleepable territory.
I kind of wish Silver said, "Oh, doo-doo." That would have been funnier.
That and, with that particular scene, and "oh no," just felt hollow to me. What they have discovered is too big to just be "oh gosh, snoogly bumbums." It's "oh crap." So that's what it is. Funnily enough, yeah, I do remember having some back and forth with various editors on the old run on the usage of the word and if it was acceptable or not. And what was okay under one publishing house is not okay under another, and vice versa. It depends on where you go. So to me, crap is kind of like the upper limit of potty mouthery that you can do in a kid's comic. It's just enough of an edge to maybe make some of the more sheltered children's go, "Ooh, he said the word," whereas the rest of us are going, "Huh? What? Yeah, he said the word. So what?"
If I were reading that, I haven't read that issue yet. If I were reading it, I wouldn't have even read. It wouldn't even have registered for me. Like, oh, that's a word you don't normally see here. I would have not even I would have never even realized there was any sort of controversy or discussion about the word crap in a Sonic book. I'd have been like, yeah, it's been there the whole time. And then I'd have realized, like, wait a minute, maybe it hasn't been. Oh crap, have I been wrong the whole time?
You said it again! But I think there's a much larger discussion to be had there over etymology in general and the origin of swear words and what power words are given to us within their social context and yada, yada, yada. But that's like a whole discussion for an episode. This is just, he said a word that some people wouldn't use in polite company and others use without batting an eyelash, and most people just let it roll.
Yeah. I mean, if something big is going down, I kind of expect that sort of word usage out of a character, so not really surprising. It's actually befitting of Silver's character to be like, oh crap, because Silver would probably say something like, oh damn, or because he can't say anything beyond damn, because he's Shadow. He's an edgelord, but he's not over the edge.
He wouldn't even go that far nowadays. He just kind of like grunt.
That's probably true.
Shadow, a nuclear missile is heading straight for your face.
He wouldn't even care. I mean, he's a clone, so, right? Is he still a clone? I don't know. Is this a thing?
Let's not even go down that hedgehog hole.
Okay, let's not worry about it. Let's get in the next question from Brody M. If the Archie Sonic comics continued without interruption the Genesis wave, what would you have liked to do for issues 248 and 94 of Sonic Universe? Fans created a website called Archie Sonic Online to continue the storylines from the original continuity in number 247.
Yet again, I will be covering those plans in a project called Lost Hedgehog Tales, which is unfortunately on indefinite hiatus because of reasons. Reasons that I can't get into, reasons that I don't fully know myself, but all reasons that I feel like if I start trotting out this information, it could cause a hiccup for other people and potentially cool stuff down the line. So until I get the all clear or until I feel like we're finally out of the woods, it's just going to have to sit on the sidelines.
Yes. All right. And with that, it's time to dive into the big Q&A list.
I'm not afraid, Kyle. Bring me your questions. Which is to say, they're questions that you have cultivated.
I have gotten the questions, and I will read them to you like a good servant person.
Co-host. Co-host, come on now.
Master. Don't beat me, please. Next up, it got one from Meme Dream. I want a meme dream. I don't know what it would be about. Maybe all your base. It's a good meme. It's old. It's
showing
good.
Your age, Kyle.
It's a good meme, but it's old, so it's fine. Anyway, it's been 3 years since Mega Man was put on quote-unquote hiatus. And I was wondering if you could say anything on what were your plans for the comic. More specifically for characters like Quick Woman and Madam Y. What was going to happen to them?
This kind of falls under the same thing as Sonic, but I don't know. I honestly don't know if we'd ever get a chance to wrap up that series. And wrap up is a very loose term because I had this puppy plotted out till the early 2020s.
Yeah, I remember that.
Very generally speaking, we would have proceeded through all the numbered games, the Game Boy games, although those would be much more loosely adapted. Quake Woman's story would be her rediscovering her personality and growing into it again with an examination of who she used to be and who she is now, with some deeper investigation into what makes you, who she has become post-reboot of her body, of her mind, versus how she was before, and how do you reconcile those different identities. I'd like to build up more of her growing family with Vesper Woman and potentially more female robot masters, because that was kind of, if Dr. Light builds mostly dudes, Dr. Linday could build a few female ones. Not that any other robot master, any other scientist would be as prolific as Dr. Light. He's kind of like the builder of robot masters, but I figured that there would be other doctors around the world following suit, and we touched upon that in the series as it went.
Yeah.
Madam Y would be the right-hand woman to Mr. X, who was the time-displaced Xander Payne. Figured she would probably stick with Wily once he took over the moniker when we got to, I guess this would be the Mega Man 6 storyline.
Was it 6 or was it 4?
No, 4 was Cossack.
Oh, right. Yeah. Something. I thought it was 5 or 6. It's one of those.
See, I get it's been so long, I'd have to look at my notes. One of them is when he frames Proto Man, and one of them is when he's Mr. X.
5 is Breakman.
5 is Breakman, right, because Breakman helps you save Kalinka. And so Wily frames him in retaliation in 5, and then goes on to become Mr. X in 6. There we go.
Okay.
Play around with the timeline and a closed time loop with Quint, and just kind of going along from there.
Then you're going to have your Mega Man Soccer arc.
I did have plans on how to acknowledge
and then
Mega Man Soccer, and it would have been fun.
And you'd have had your Battle and Chase arc. And you'd have had your, I don't know, I don't remember any other obscure Mega Man things off the top of my head right now.
Well, there was the kind of Monopoly-esque game that introduced Ron and had the character that became Mayor El Dorado. I don't know if we could acknowledge that. I'd like to acknowledge the PC games as well, with all those Robot Masters being like cheap foreign knockoffs of other Robot Masters, but it would really depend on what Capcom let us do. Because some stuff they were like, yeah, go hog wild, and other stuff we really had to finagle or just outright drop. So, yeah. I don't know.
Oh man, those freaking those PC games are just they're hilariously awful. I would have loved to see them get acknowledged though, because that's amazing. All right, next one comes from Jim. I understand you won't say specifically if a character will appear or not in IDW Comics, but could you at least update us on the usability of the modern Sonic game characters that were unusable for unknown reasons in the Archie comics? For example, Eggman's descendant, Eggman Nega. Will he be off limits for the IDW Comics like he was for Archie comics?
I honestly don't know. The series is still very new, so I haven't had an opportunity to ask or push certain characters. Some characters that were approved for a story at one point were then rescinded at another point, and we had to revise. So, and I don't think it's a matter of, oh, these characters are off the table. It was more like, we don't want them in this story arc for reasons. So, as of right now, as far as I know, any character that is alive is on the table, but it really is going to be a case-by-case basis. And since I don't want to rush through the entire modern cast just to put them in the book, we'll just have to wait and see.
All right. And this next question comes from none other than the John Doe. The very famous John Doe.
I think I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's pretty well known. I'm surprised he's listens to this show. That's pretty incredible. Okay, this has confused me for some time now. The first issue of IDW Sonic has flashbacks to previous Sonic games. They appear to show Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Heroes, Sonic Unleashed, and Sonic Forces in that order. Then issue 5 of IDW also has flashbacks, Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Generations, and Sonic Unleashed in that order. The flashbacks are all in chronological order, except for Sonic Unleashed being placed in between Sonic Generations and Forces. I wouldn't think anything of it, except the book Welcome to the World of Sonic lists the games in the same order, appearing to list them in chronological order, but ending the list with Sonic Generations, Lost World, Secret Rings, and Black Knight, Unleashed, and Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed. Are the flashbacks in issue 5 not in chronological order? That word really trips me up. Or does Sonic Unleashed happen in between Generations and Lost World and Sonic Forces?
Number one, those scenes are not in any particular order. They're just flashback scenes to say, hey, remember this? Wasn't this cool or exciting or dramatic? Number two, the comics are inspired by the game events, but they are not continuations of them. Yes, the initial arc is heavily inspired and influenced by Sonic Forces, but it should not be taken as the canon continuation of that story. So if you see references to previous game events, it's kind of in a broad stroke sort of thing. It's like, okay, so that generally happened in the past. Cool, move on. If it doesn't quite sync up with the game stuff, then congratulations, you have found brand new comic exclusive continuity.
And you could say that the comics don't really have an effect on what is canon and what is not, you would say.
Yeah.
The
comics are their own thing.
Yeah, so like whatever order you happen to put stuff in or stuff happens to be put into does not reflect on the actual canon of the rest of the games or anything else, that unless Sega decides that's the way they want to do it. It's up to Sega, really.
We're going to be coming to that answer a whole lot.
Yeah. All right, next question comes from Daryl H. If Sally Acorn and the Freedom Fighters do make it to IDW Sonic in 2019, will they keep their post-Super Genesis Wave looks or get an IDW makeover?
I don't know. That's up to Sega, really. I would not hold my breath looking for them in 2019. So let's not worry about that right now.
All right, next one comes from Antonio V. Rosie Woodchuck, did you have any plans to use her in future issues after the SWC? And Team Dark and Gunn in Worlds Unite, were you planning on having them survive the blast?
Didn't have anything major planned for Rosie. I think I just had her... No, this is post-Super Wave. Shoot, did I have anything for her at all? I don't think so. She'd be just around Knothole or Mobotropolis, I guess, being a matronly figure. As for the big kaboom and Worlds Unite, we've covered this in a previous episode. When we were composing it, the editor at the time said that we needed to up the stakes. We needed to kill somebody off to show just how dramatic the merging worlds were. And I said, no, why do a death cheat? Because we're going to hit the cosmic reset button at the end of this anyway. All it is a cheap flash in the pan death for spectacle's sake. And we went back and forth on it a fair bit and dug our heels in. And the compromise we came to was, I said, okay, let's kill off a character that anyone with a moment's thought will realize, oh, they're not really dead. We would never get approval to kill them off. So that's why we had Team Dark get blown up. Because anyone who knows how comics and licensing work will go, oh, they're not dead. They'll be back at the end of the crossover. So that way, to me at least, I didn't feel like I cheated them. And if anyone did read it and think, oh my gosh, they actually killed Shadow in a crossover event, and then for some reason went back to the status quo, that would be their lesson. This is how comics sometimes work, unfortunately. So I tried to make it as transparent as possible, and it fooled some people still, I guess.
All right, next question comes from Sonic Legacy. My questions were, I'm working on a long-term Sonic fan comic through Sonic Paradox, and there were ideas and characters across all continuities that I was trying to include within this new lore we're building, including a few characters that were created in the post-reboot period of Archie, such as Clove and Cassia. We were thinking of merging a few of our original characters made for the project in order to help support our artists, but we're trying to find out what the legalities or permissions, if you will, are for characters that are no longer used. Examples would be, should we do that? Would be things like stickers, sets of different facial expressions of characters. We understand we wouldn't be able to use licensed characters. What about characters that are no longer licensed that were created by other artists? Do we just avoid it altogether or figure out something? We mainly just wanted to know the best way to approach those sorts of questions.
Simplest way to approach this is, do you own these characters? Yes? Do what you want. No? Don't touch them. I am no lawyer, but from my understanding, the contracts that I and my fellow freelancers signed during that period means everything we produced was for the comic. We signed away all rights and all ownership. With that material no longer being printed or in circulation, I think it defaults to Sega, or it might still technically be owned by Archie. either way, it's kind of in limbo, never to be touched by anyone ever again unless it gets brought back by somebody. The odds of that being super, super low. So, best to avoid altogether.
In essence, because the characters are not being used does not mean they're not owned by somebody and that somebody doesn't have the legal rights to have issues with merchandising of those characters. So
Right.
just because a character is no longer in print or anything like that doesn't mean you have free reign to use them. So probably shouldn't use them for things that you would be getting paid for merchandising and stuff like that. So unless you can get permission, which you can try, you would have to speak to your friendly neighborhood attorney on that aspect, friendly neighborhood copyright attorney. But you can try, but you would have to license them, most likely, if you were to do that. So, yeah, no, don't try and sell stuff with characters on it that you don't own. That would be my recommendation. Next question comes from Matthew T. I'd like to know if any of the villages Sonic visited have names. I assume he's talking about the villages Sonic visited during the early arc of the new IDW comics.
Yep. And no, they don't, simply because in the old books, anything and everywhere had a name. Everything had all this world building put on it, even if it didn't matter. And some people critique that as just being needless clutter, and I kind of see where they're coming from. With this opening arc, these villages may never be seen again. Tangle's will at some point, because Tangle is hugely popular, and we will be coming back to her town, and that will get a name, obviously, because it is a setting that will have a meaning and a purpose.
It's called Tangle's World.
But the other ones, they weren't going to be reoccurring settings, so in my mind, tacking a name onto them was just making useless wiki fluff.
Sure.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like in some of the older books, you'd have the pilot of the plane named something, even though that character was never to be seen before or after. And it doesn't really... That isn't world building. That is not character crafting. That is not making a more immersive world. You know? It's just fluff.
Sure.
So, no, the villages in the first pass do not have names, but areas that we are going to return to and that will have a narrative purpose will be named.
And maybe if, like, at some point in the future, say, you wanted to go back to a setting similar to one of the villages or something like that, you could be like, oh, hey, I remember you from when you saved us that last time. Thank you, Sonic. And then you could build from there.
Oh, sure. If we ever
build.
reference the big stockaded village that Rough and Tumble had taken over,
yeah,
it doesn't need a name. And then if we do reference it, then boom, it has a name, and retroactively it has a name.
Yeah, or yeah, if like anybody ever goes back to it, or if you need to actually name it, then obviously you could, but you didn't need to for the first time. It's just a village that Sonic goes to and saves the people in it. Hey, yay, Sonic, you win. Next one comes from Avery M. Who exactly was the villain that was going to appear in Sonic Universe 96? Was he an alternate universe version of Mephiles in Blaze's world?
I have a project that I'm working on called Lost Hedgehog Tales that will answer all the original plans that I had for the cut content, but it is on indefinite hiatus, and we've been through this.
Yep. All right, next one comes from Mako M, or Mako M. I don't know which. I've always preferred Mako, but apparently it's usually Mako. So, I loved your take on Chow for the reboot of the Archie comics, and was wondering if the priestesses know about the immortality of Chaos Chow, and if so, why they haven't done that instead of reincarnating the Chow each time. Do they keep reincarnating the Chow Because it is tradition, or because they didn't know about the existence of Chaos Chow?
You wanted to say re-enchownating, didn't you?
Maybe I did. You don't know. You don't know me, sir.
Now, most of the Meropis arc was the brainchild of Aaliyah Baker. The characters, the setting, all of that. I helped, but it was mostly her idea. So I'm going to be kind of speaking for her. But in the broader sense of what I wanted to do with the Chow in that universe was expand upon them as more living things and less like a mini game. Like in Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, you know how it goes. They're basically very big Tamagotchi. You feed them the right things, you love them the right way, and within a few hours you can have your shiny Chaos Chow that destroys all the races. But as a living thing, that doesn't really translate. So in my mind, Aquarius, the Chow in question, had reached the end of their natural life cycle and thus was reincarnating because of how well Coral was taking care of it. But instead of taking a couple hours or a few days, depending on how good you were at grabbing Chaos Drives, it took like a few years or something. Or because they are in such a remote and what's the word I'm looking for?
Isolated?
Yeah, there we go. Isolated area. They couldn't really expose Aquarius to all the various animals that would be needed to get a light or an angel or a devil or a light Chow. So that's the broad. I'm meandering here. That's the explanation. Is that we're treating it as more like a living thing with a natural life cycle and less of you need to feed it 15 distinct animal types and pet it on the head, and this is what you get.
All right. Next question comes from Corius. Do you feel that the characters Hershey the Cat / St. John and Cream the Rabbit could have some bond with each other? Such as how Hershey could one day be a babysitter for Cream and love her like a little sister. This sounds like fan fiction, Ian.
That's fan fiction, and if that's what you want, then cool. That's your headcanon.
Have fun. It's all yours.
Given that they had no interaction during my run, I can't really say.
One day, Ian. That's what it says. One day.
Well, it's not going to happen either way, so if that's what you want to happen in your head, then
cool.
More power to you.
Cool. All right. Next one comes from Jordan W. Please continue the Sonic Underground TV show.
I cannot. That is not within my power, even remotely. I'm sorry.
It's within It's within mine. I'm starting it back up tomorrow. I am rehiring the original cast. I'm replacing Robotnik with his proper voice of Jim Cummings, and it's all going to be good. It's going to be excellent. None of that is happening. Don't trust me. It's not.
Now, wait. Maybe Jordan is referring to the Sonic Universe 50 finale to Sonic Underground that we had planned.
Yeah, maybe.
And unfortunately, that was pulled for reasons beyond my control and beyond the publisher's control, and is most likely dead and buried forever. But I'm working on a project called Lost Hedgehog Tales that will showcase all the material. You laugh, but this is part of it.
I know.
It will cover all the things that I wanted to do, but it's on indefinite hiatus. So
I also see the reactions to people whenever you bring up Lost Hedgehog Tales, because I think some people are kind of annoyed by that. But they have
every right to be.
They do, and I understand it's completely, but it's also out of your control. You can't, there's nothing you can really do about it.
I mean, I could just put it out there, but it would also potentially torpedo not only my good standing within the franchise, and my ability to pay the bills kind of comes first beyond my glorified fanfic, and it could throw off other stuff that's going on. So it's frustrating for me too, because I have to say this over and over again. And, see the disappointment in people's faces. People come to me at conventions. There was at least 2 people at Fan Expo that were asking about it. And it's like, I can't help it. And I'm sorry.
I know. It is very frustrating. And I understand that. It's just I see the reactions. I mean, sometimes it's kind of funny. Sometimes I laugh. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I kind of get you. I see how you feel, but it's okay. Maybe eventually we'll get there.
I mean, if I didn't think it would eventually be, I'd just outright cancel it and stop having everyone on tenterhooks. But I really want it to happen. And I think it can. It's just, there's stuff in the way.
It could just take some time. So be patient. Hopefully we'll get there. Next up from Carly J. Where are Cream the Rabbit, Shadow, and Rouge in Sonic the Hedgehog Mobius 30 years later? And who did Amy Rose in Sonic Mobius 30 years later get married to?
Okay, so there's this project I'm working on called Lost Hedgehogs. No. Okay, I went for the joke, but serious. More than likely, 30 years later would never be continued because of reasons.
Yeah, there's quite a few reasons.
Not the ones that I think you suspect, but just reasons.
Oh, okay.
So, I didn't have tons of stuff planned beyond what we had done in that one arc. So, we're just going to spitball off the top of our head right now. Cream went on to grow up to be an adventurer, and Cheese turned into a light chow, and he was awesome. King Shadow went off to cause more problems and is one day defeated. Rouge would become a semi-benevolent mogul of ill-gotten gains running casinos and stuff. She would occasionally go out and steal stuff just for the fun of it, but mostly she was managing because she's getting older, and it's kind of more fun to just bask in the wealth than risk your neck. But sometimes she needs to go out there.
So she'd just become Breezy.
A better Breezy.
Oh.
Breezy with class.
And
Amy Rose doesn't need to get married. She's a strong, independent woman.
Who don't need no man.
She gets the time stones, and she goes adventuring through time, beating up time-displaced enemies with her super awesome magical hammer. I'm
down. I think you should write that first. That should be your next. That should be the next Sonic spinoff. Just Amy in time. It's just Amy CD. That sounds good to me. Next one comes from a Fluffy W. Some people say the implied romance between Sally and Nicole doesn't work because Nicole grew up in Sally's household and therefore is her adopted sister. How would you defend their love?
Well, no, because number one, Nicole wasn't treated as her sister. She was treated as a appliance.
As a tool.
At first.
That's kind of mean.
She was. She was built by Dr. Elodie to be a smart device.
I said tool. Like I'm calling Nicole a tool.
Their friendship was fostered over years, and their relationship was never really sisterly. It was more close. It's not like King Acorn looked at this giant PDA and said, "How are you today, my adoptive daughter? You're next in line in case Sally cacks it." No, that was never in the book in any capacity.
There were times when King Acorn was really off his rocker, though, and probably could have done that.
I will grant you, post-reboot King Acorn was very, very jovial.
I'd believe that. I would believe that. He'd be like...
He would welcome Nicole to the breakfast table even though she couldn't eat, but no, she was never part of the family. But there was definitely a very close relationship between the two of them. What Spark of Life was kind of the first step towards was Nicole beginning to understand that her feelings for Sally were more than just friendship. And what the long-term idea would be is that she would start to investigate those feelings. Sally would start to realize that maybe she too felt more than friendship, and that they would work their way towards an actual romance. What was in the book, what was written and presented, was at the very best the ground floor.
Right.
And with the intention of building from there, but obviously we never went anywhere. I'll be talking about that more in a project I'm working on called Hedgehog Disc.
Ian!
At this point, I'm being mean.
At this point, you're just shilling for a project you're not going to make any money from, so I don't even know what you're doing.
I'm just trying to have some fun in this mad world of ours.
It's fine. We're getting really deep into these questions. And we still got a lot more to go, so let's crank through some more of them. Next one comes from Hedgermans. What I've been wondering ever since the pre-boot of the Archie comics is, what is your idea on Sonic and Silver's relationship in your work? The reason I ask is because something I've taken notice of ever since the pre-boot Archie era is the way you seem to write Sonic interacting with Silver doesn't come off as friendship to me. Rather, I sense a lot of jadedness and distaste coming from Sonic towards Silver.
And see, when I was reviewing these questions, my knee-jerk reaction was no! And then I thought about it and was like, you know what? I can see where you're coming from. And that was not the intention. Pre-reboot, it was more that Silver kept showing up at the wrong time and really getting on Sonic's bad side. Like, if you're thinking particularly of when he accuses Antoine of being the traitor while Antoine was busy recovering from saving Elias's life by taking a bomb to the face, yeah, Sonic is not going to have any patience for that. It's more that, in that situation particularly, it was Silver just coming in at a bad time, coming on too strong, and Sonic not being in a position to really be his usual role with itself. If you're going off of that mindset and looking at Sonic number 8, I can see where you might think that's continuing, but that's more Sonic just ribbing on Silver because Silver is a prime target for just poking fun at. He's so earnest and he tries so hard. Sonic can't help but just, mess with him a little bit. But it's not mean-natured. It's not meant to be antagonistic. It's just him having fun with it. And Silver just spills the spaghetti over everything anyway. Like, case in point, one of the scenes I see a lot of people coming back to are the ones where Sonic rationalizes why Whisper doesn't want to immediately interact with him. And that's not him lecturing Silver. If you're hearing him with a harsher tone, don't. Dial it back. He's speaking kindly, not just to Whisper, but to Silver as well, because he's figuring it out on the fly. Now, when he's making fun of Silver for getting Whisper's name wrong, that's just him being a jerk, but that's funny. And somebody's going to take that out of context and me saying Sonic is a jerk. That's not what I mean. He's just, never mind.
I mean, he kind of is, but he's a kind-hearted...
Yeah, but in a playful way. It's not like he's...
He's a kind-hearted jerk.
Graded.
He's a jerk with a heart of gold. I think that sums up Sonic pretty well.
His jerkitude is significantly reduced in the current incarnation.
It's true. It has been... It's been dialed back, but it's still there a little bit. It also doesn't help that Sonic's first interaction with Silver was the "it's no use" debacle, where obviously Sonic very annoyingly could not defeat Silver in what should have been a very simple battle. But we won't.
One of the things I will always remember was fighting my way through 06, getting to the Silver boss fight as Sonic, and just almost breaking my controller in half because of how lopsided it was. And then getting back to that same fight as Silver and laughing myself into tears because I just picked up all the lawn furniture and buried Sonic into the ground with it in one shot and won it in under 10 seconds. Oh man, that just it was cathartic in a way.
It is cathartic, but it's also this is kind of now I know how Sonic felt. When you just buried him under a bunch of furniture and boxes. It's like, poor Sonic. Now I understand. This really sucks for you. All right, next one comes from Jordy at home. I wonder if they're at home right now. I guess we'll find out, maybe. How is Silver able to jump freely between past and future? I assume Chaos Emeralds are needed, but he seems to be lacking one.
I don't know.
A DeLorean. Answered that for you, Ian. You're welcome. It's Silver like...
Silver hedgehog in a silver car.
It's Silver like him. It's perfect.
Until the games give me a distinct answer, I'm going to follow suit and just say he finds a way. Because at this point, if I try to come up with anything else, I'm just begging for it to get retconned at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So he has ways of doing it. The time stones exist.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Dual chaos control exists. He does it somehow.
I was going to say, Sonic CD time post. There you go.
Yeah, so it hasn't ever been really crucial to any story outside of 06. And so I'm content to wait until Sega says this is how he does it and roll with that, then try to figure it out myself again and be told, no, that's wrong. So we're just going to wait and see.
Yeah. I'm kind of wondering why they're even bothering with the time travel aspect of his character. Just say he's there. It's fine. I mean, I guess you could. I did like the fact that you could go, when in the future you were able to kind of explore Silver's time period and have some neat characters there, but obviously you don't have those anymore, so now it's like, But I don't know. Next one comes from Shy Guy. Well, we got a Shy Guy questioning us now. Is Sonic Archie Comics still canon? If so, then Worlds Unite has a canon explanation of how Eggman and Robotnik escape an endless white world.
The Archie comics are canon to themselves.
Yes.
But they are not canon to the games. They never were. And they are not canon to the IDW comic.
No.
So how did the Eggmen get out of the time void? Excellent question. I hope I get to answer that one day.
Magic. Or by being super smart. I think that's how. All right, next one comes from Clay A. Will there be more of a rogues gallery besides Eggman and anyone under him in IDW? We just have Metal Sonic, who I count under Eggman's rule, and Rough and Tumble, who I recall they were hinted to join somebody's side, who I assume is Eggman.
Rough and Tumble are free agents, but they will definitely be open to other alternatives in their attempts to get revenge on Sonic. We may build a greater rogues gallery. It's hard to say since we're 8 issues into the new run. And I like to plan ahead, you know me, but you have to keep in mind that not everything that I plan gets approved. So I'm not going to say, yes, definitely we're going to have the Battle Bravada show up in year 5, because I have no idea. That all depends on what Sega lets us do. Now, I do want to explore other antagonistic forces beyond Eggman, because if everything is Eggman, it gets a little repetitive, but that's not, steadfast. Yes, we're going to have this new villainous force out of nowhere. It's give it time. Okay, let's finish year 1 and see what year 2 has in store before we start thinking about going too nuts.
All right, next one comes from Impy. Have you ever used gameplay fumbles / fails during Sonic game playthroughs as inspiration for the comics? When you forget an enemy is there, or first playthrough and slam right into an enemy, or drowning, or etc.
Nothing immediately springs to mind. There was a fairly consistent glitch in Sonic 3 where after you beat the first phase of Eggman in Launch Base Zone, there's this Eggmobile sitting there, and Tails, if he's not being controlled, will jump ahead, but he won't trigger right, and he'll fall through the Eggmobile into the water and die and not come back until you finish Launch Base Zone.
Yeah.
I think it works if it's connected to Sonic and Knuckles as well. It's been so long. So it was... Oh, shoot. I forget which comic it was, but I had a reference to Tails... I think it was in Worlds Collide, where Tails gets hurt and Sonic asks if he's okay, and Tails makes a reference to getting nearly drowning or getting hurt pretty bad in Launch Base Zone. That was what that was a reference to.
That's a pretty obscure reference. I like
it. Was super, super nerdy, and it didn't really register for anybody else in the world. That was one of those moments where it's like, Ian, you kind of need to dial back your nerd cred a little bit. Suppress your power level.
You didn't even make a barrel reference to Carnival Night Zone.
Nah. That came later.
That's the easy one.
Yeah. But sometimes the easy jokes are fun. But no, I can't think of anything that would really work. I mean, the other favorite glitch I've experienced was Leah Baker was playing through Sonic Adventure for the first time through my completed file because she never got a chance to play it, and was just kind of messing around and jumped right into the Perfect Chaos fight and was down to the last hit and ran out of rings. Except the water spout that spawned shot her straight up through Perfect Chaos's head, so she killed Perfect Chaos and died in the hit. And the game just kind of paused for a second going, what do? Like, the screen was black, and the music kind of faded out, and we weren't sure what was going to happen. And then the boss fight started over. So that would be fun to reference, but where, when, how, it would be... If you think the Tails thing was obscure.
Sure, yeah. All right. Next up comes from Zach C. Rereading The Great Chaos Caper, it seems to me there's a thematic thread of purpose running through this story. Knuckles and Chip's more spiritual purpose contrasting with the Chaotix and Hooligan's more practical, greedy purpose. Was this intentional?
Not so much the juxtaposition of those two aspects. I think that's more of a happy circumstance of what the groups were about. With Knuckles, during that run, I definitely wanted to push him more towards the spiritual side. I wanted him interacting more with spirits and ghosts and the strange energies and mysteries surrounding the island. And Chip fit into that, being the light guy, a spirit himself. And the Chaotix and the Hooligans are both very materialistic, so their central conflict is going to revolve around that. But it wasn't necessarily a theme of spiritual versus material so much as I was going more spiritual with Knuckles, and those two teams were more materialistic. And thus, just by being next to each other, you can see that parallel.
All right. Next one comes from Andrew D. Does your viewpoint of Blaze being from the future, sealed into the Soul Zone, and her history having been rewritten to having always been from the Soul Zone thanks to Iblis's erasure, still exist? Has it changed at all? I remember you mentioning this once. Also,
let's tackle this one first, because there's...
Okay.
It's something I keep coming back to and wrestling with, because it bugs me that she seals Iblis into herself, goes into another dimension, and that's it. It's never referenced again. And it's sorely tempting to play with that aspect of Iblis within her. But that is way, way deep into the Sega needs to lay down the ground rules for that territory. I can fudge a lot of stuff. I can, insert what I want here or there. But I feel like Blaze's relationship to the Soul Dimension, to Iblis, to the Soul Emeralds, all of that, I think that needs to come from Sega. I definitely have ideas on how I would like to tackle it, but I feel like that's too deep in the weeds. That's playing too much with somebody else's toys,
Yeah. All right, and as a second question to this, did you notice that the sprite for Ray is as tall as Sonic and Mighty in Sonic Mania?
Yeah!
I guess canonically he is about the same age as them and not Tails. Does that mean any future potential appearances in the comic would have him the same as in Mania?
Yes, if we ever do anything with the classic era, we'll be following what is the new standard. I don't know where the idea of Ray being came from short of the comics, and I feel like that was a comic exclusive idea that kind of permeated the collective consciousness and kind of endured. It did throw me for a loop to see him, just palling around with Mighty and Sonic as if he was just another one of the guys. That's weird.
Yeah.
But that, they are back in an official capacity, the most official capacity perhaps ever, arguably. So, yeah, that Ray is, I guess, the same as Mighty and Sonic, and we'll just have to get used to that.
All right. It's like a two worlds thing. Better get used to it. Next one comes from James M. In Sonic 257, we saw Linkara from atop the fourth wall show up. But what is the Sonic versus version of Linkara's history like, and what comics does he review? In fact, why did you have him cameo?
I think that issue was done by Evan Stanley, I think. And that was her cameo. And I think she put him in there just because she likes his reviews. I don't know. I don't want to speak for her, so I'm not 100% certain on that. I think we've covered this before, or I remember her answering that question by a fan or something, but I think that's how it went. As for how post-reboot Sonic version of Linkara exists, I don't know. I don't know the man well enough to craft his alternate reality self.
He'd probably just be the same.
He is the one constant in the multiverse.
It'd probably just be reviewing crappy comics. Because I'm sure crappy comics exist in Sonic's world. They gotta. It's only fair.
Sure.
It's only fair.
Sure.
I don't know. Makes sense to me. Our next one comes from Leo13. Are Chaotix exclusively modern characters now, or can they still count as both modern and classic?
Excellent question. I am not sure. From what I have heard from Sega's side in public statements, this is not insider knowledge, this is stuff I've heard from the same outlets all of you guys have. The impression I get is that the modern Chaotix are considered the only incarnation right now, that Mighty is back in Mania, and that we get a Metal Sonic Kai reference in Mania Plus are more happy acknowledgments and not saying that Knuckles Chaotix is part of the canon, question mark? But then again, I think that the classic era being its own thing is still a very, very new idea. So maybe they'll revisit the idea as classic Chaotix? I don't know. I really don't know. I kind of hope so, because I prefer classic SP's design myself. But I really don't know.
Yeah, and Vector's been a thing since like Sonic 1, so...
Yeah.
Well, kinda. I mean, the concept of him has existed since Sonic 1, so...
To me.
I don't know. It seems weird for them to be sequestered. It seems weird for Mighty to be apart from the rest of the crew. Even though I know technically he's a character that did not debut as part of the Chaotix, it still seems weird to me to have him separated from them, but that's just me. Next one comes from Ryan M. In Sonic Force's stress test, Eggman says with such power from the Phantom Ruby, he wouldn't even need to bother with the Master Emerald. Was the Phantom Ruby more important than the Master Emerald, or was the Phantom Ruby more powerful than the Master Emerald?
That line was more me trying to reconcile the fact that he was right there with the Master Emerald, and Knuckles just left, and he didn't take it. That was the story that Sega gave me to turn into a script. So I had to rationalize why Eggman wouldn't steal the most powerful source of energy on the planet. And the mentality I was trying to convey here was that the Phantom Ruby's abilities to craft virtual constructs was more versatile and more powerful in application than the Master Emerald, which was simply just a big battery.
All right. Next question comes from Nicholas S., who generally gets rights to comic characters. Like Stan Lee seems to be involved and get credited with all Spider-Man, but if you wrote a Spider-Man comic and create a new character, would you forever get credit when that character is used? Is there even a standard for this?
This is something that's been a very hot topic within the comic industry and is still being developed and discussed and fought over.
Yeah.
It depends on who the publisher is, what the property is, and what the contracts are. Everything I've done licensed work, whether it's Sonic or Mega Man or ARMS or anything else, is I create something and it becomes part of that property. I do not own it anymore. Now, there's a DC story idea that may never see the light of day. But there were a couple characters created in that, and because of DC's policy, if those characters were to show up again under a different writer or a different team, I would get some royalty from it. But if they don't, which they most likely won't, then there you go. But it really does depend on who you're with and what your contract is. And the idea of creators maintaining some rights and some compensation for their creations is a relatively new idea, and it's not very prolific.
Right. I think that a lot of the sort of big, well-known characters that we see now, they were created at a time when the comic industry was still a lot less well-defined than it is now business-wise. Especially if you want to go back to the early DC stuff.
And some of the original creators of these big iconic characters were screwed over. Let's not...
Oh, right, of course, yes. Bill Finger for Batman is... we probably shouldn't go into that debacle, but yeah. So, unfortunately, that's kind of the world we live in, so... But it would be nice if you got credit for things you created. I mean, that seems like the reason to create anything, but what do I know? I guess the reason for creating anything would be to get paid so you could eat, but I don't know. Seems like you'd also maybe want a little acknowledgement. Next one comes from Jesus A. If you were to make a Sonic and Mega Man crossover, what would be the setting? Who would be the villain, like Dr. Vale? Would you bring elements of the Zero series, and who would you kill off? I assume they're meaning like if you made a Sonic Mega Man crossover game, because you made a Sonic Mega Man crossover comic twice.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we're going to do a crossover, I'd just do Worlds Collide again, because that was nigh upon perfect.
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, I'm sure there's places to critique it, but boy, howdy did that come together nicely.
Yes, it did.
Not so much Worlds Unite, but Worlds Collide, definitely. Kill off nobody. Why would I want to do that?
It's a crossover. You have to kill somebody off, Ian.
No, you can't take me. Don't know if I'd really want to delve into the Zero series, since Zero is so far removed from Classic. I'd like to keep it Classic and modern Sonic. Would it be more interesting to do Classic Sonic and Classic Mega Man and modern Sonic and X? And then just do like a Silver and Zero relative future.
Huh.
I don't know, Jesus. That's a really broad question. Depends on if it's comic, if it's a game. How would you approach it? What adaptation? Is it a mini series? Is it a going series? Is it like do Worlds Collide again, but differently? Because I don't wanna. We struck gold that last time. Let's leave it be.
I don't know. It's tough because if you were making a game, the level structure and design of a Sonic level versus a Mega Man level is so different. Like, how would you reconcile the differences between Sonic levels and Mega Man levels? Like, Mega Man in a Sonic level just seems like completely like a foreign concept to me. The Sonic in a Mega Man level, I could see more because we had things like Marble Zone. So if you want to go back to like Sonic 1 style, which was a little more slow paced in certain levels and did not necessarily, not every level necessarily had sweeping ramps and ups and downs and hills and everything. Some were more blocky like a Mega Man level. So that's
yeah.
That would be my thinking. But
or maybe like Sonic CD style where it's more puzzle and maze oriented,
exploration based. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Whereas X is more about lots of quick movements and kind of twitch reactions, which for modern Sonic. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I could definitely see Sonic in an X style level more than a classic style. But I don't know. That's an interesting thought exercise. Next one comes from Lourdes. Ian, when is SA3?
After Shadow the Hedgehog 2. but
Okay.
before the third storybook.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm ready. We had SA3. If it's called Sonic World Adventure.
Yeah, don't even start. They will tear you apart.
Whatever.
You know you're right. I know you're right. But there are people who just will not accept it because there's no Chow Garden.
I don't. It's fine. Come at me, bros. It's just funny. I'm such a troll. You're welcome. Anyway, Diamond Dude 51501 Diamond Dude asks, I was just wondering if you know if there's any possible way that any of the characters from the Archie comics or IDW comics can appear in the games, or if Archie characters can appear in the IDW comics.
That is entirely up to Sega. And if Archie has any control the comic exclusive characters, I don't know. That it's a bit of a tangled mess that I only kind of have some insight on. So I don't really want to comment on it because I don't know.
All right, next one comes from Morphe of Hearts. Is there any chance of Tangle and Whisper coming to the mainline Sonic games for some story innovation?
Entirely up to Sega. I would be really happy if anything IDW Sonic in the games, but that is not up to me.
If Tangle appeared in the games, I'd be pretty happy. I'm down. I'm ready. I'm ready for a Tangle game, Ian. Just whatever. Just skip the cameo.
Modern Rice Star, man. That's what she is.
Skip the cameos and just give her a game.
Well, I mean, when we're designing these new characters, it's with them being game characters in mind.
Sure.
You know, I actively design them with the thought process of how would they appear in a game setting. And Tangle is basically the Avatar character without the wisp on.
Yeah, kind of.
It's a grapple hook thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, there you go. Easy peasy.
Bam. Perfect. Slaughter right in there. Boom. Team Tangle. Boom. Right there. It's just her. There's no team. It's just her. That's all you need. She don't need no team. True Love Heart 94. For one of the Sonic IDW comic issues, can one of those upcoming issue comics be one where we'll finally know about Amy's family?
Most likely not. Sega is very not keen on introducing family members to the Sega characters. Now, I know you're already saying, but in the Archie books, yes, I know. Especially pre-reboot. But things change. As I've said before, what is yes today can be no tomorrow, and vice versa. So, as things stand right now, no, we are most likely never going to see any additional family members to any of the characters. Yes, Cream has vanilla, but that is Sega created. That is not comic created.
All right. Next one comes from Linksy. In issue 7 of Sonic, what exactly is Metal talking about by clashed since then? Last time I checked, he hadn't appeared in the Sonic timeline after Heroes.
Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Sonic Rivals, shoot, I know I'm forgetting something. He's shown up since then.
Those count? Sonic 4 counts?
Sonic 4 counts.
Do we have to acknowledge Sonic 4?
Sonic 4 Episode 2 is fun, dadgummit.
It's okay. Could have been better.
It's better than Episode 1 by far.
It's not Sonic 4. Sonic Mania is Sonic 4. Let's not kid ourselves here.
I know.
Yeah, let's not kid ourselves here. The only reason why Sonic Mania is not called Sonic 4 is because they decided to tack on the name Sonic 4 onto a mobile game. That's terrible. It's bad, Ian. It's really bad. I know someone out there loves it, and I'm sorry. I'm not trying.
Metal Sonic's theme in Episode 2 is pretty cool.
It has decent music
and
when it's not the music in the game.
He's consistently a fun boss fight every time you face him. And the Sonic and Tails duo abilities are really cool.
Those are kind of neat, yes.
And some of the stages are pretty.
The music sounds good when it's been recreated using an actual Genesis sound font or sound hardware. It doesn't sound good in the game. It's like this really weird half measure of kind of Genesis, but not quite. And it just doesn't sound right to me. It's just, I don't like the music. The soundtrack itself. The instrument choice, that's what I don't like. It's like the drums are ripped straight from Sonic 2, which is fine. But the main synth leads and bass and everything else is all wrong. It's all wrong, Ian.
All right.
It bugs me.
Calm down.
It bugs
Calm
me.
down.
It bugs me. And it makes me upset because it's Jun Senoway, and I love Jun Senoway. And I'm just very disappointed. I'm just very sad, Ian. I'm just very sad. Anyway, Sonic Soul Speeder, please make Silver and Blaze a couple. Maybe you guys don't know that. But the most part of the fan base wants Silver and Blaze together. I beg you,
Ian Flynn.
We beg you. I love them. Don't do like Sally. Please make them a couple. Please, I beg you.
No. Okay, no. No shipping. None. I am done with it. You can set sail with any ship you want, but do not come to me and say the majority of the fan base wants, because they do not. They do not. I have seen every corner. I know that the battle flags fly high.
I want
For everyone who says, "Oh, absolutely, Silver Blaze is a sure thing." There's someone else saying, "No, it's clearly Sonic and Blaze. They've set this up." And now, because of the comic, there's just as many saying Blaze and Tangle and Sonic and Tangle. Probably
it's clearly
no.
Sonic and Silver, Ian.
No shipping. Not taking sides. I do not exist to launch ships. I do not exist to sink ships. I am not a harbor. If you like a certain pairing, happy for you. Enjoy it. But no. Especially with the official characters, unless Sega says they are together as a smoochums couple, not touching it. I've been through that headache. Never again. Never again.
But Ian, I want my comic shipped to me. Can you ship my comics?
Wrong shipping, you.
All right. So the answer is no, then.
No.
Okay. What about Sally and Nicole?
No.
I mean, you even said you wanted to explore romance with him. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, that storyline's dead now, so how do you like that?
We don't have to worry about that anymore. All right, fine. Let's talk about Alper O. If Alper is the real first name of a person, that's kind of a neat first name. I like that for some reason.
Yeah, I'd like to know where that comes from.
Alper. Hi, Ian. I was wondering if there will be more Blaze comics in the future. I love your comics.
I'm so glad you do. I don't know if we'll get any Blaze-specific spin-off comics, but Blaze will definitely be showing up in the main series more, and boy howdy is she going to be cool.
That seems weird considering her power is fire. You'd think she'd be hot.
You just give me them questions.
Okay, fine. I'll stop trying to be funny, because I'm not funny. But I'll stop trying. Next one comes from Princess Gengar, which is also a great name, and I hope it's your real name.
It honestly terrifies me, so let's continue.
Do you remember the canceled Sonic character, Tiara Bobowski? Any chance of her being revived in the comics?
I do remember, and I honestly looked into getting her introduced in the post-reboot books, and shoot, what's his name?
I think we talked about this before, but
we did. I can't remember.
Chris Sen, or is that his name?
Thank you, Chris Sen. Talked with him a fair bit, and he was super cool. But the more I looked into it beyond him, where it looked like it would not be viable for legal reasons. So, sadly, I feel like Tiara and Eva, all the various crazy ideas Sonic Amar is up through Sonic Extreme are just dead and gone.
It's a shame. I mean, having a character named Bobowski in a Sonic comic, it's just, that would be amusing. I would think that would be good. Next one comes from Gonzalo T. Are the Babylon Rogues going to appear in a near future? I know that you don't like them very much.
Where does this come from?
You hate them.
I don't have a vendetta against the Rogues.
Uh-huh.
I don't.
Maybe you do, Ian. I mean,
obviously,
if a character has not appeared for a while, or if they were like in one thing, it never appeared, or if you said one thing on this really obscure interview that you did like a decade ago, like it could be anything, but you don't like anybody, Ian. I know that for a fact.
I think the Rogues can be fun characters. Don't have any immediate plans for that could change. And I don't dislike them. I think Zero Gravity is the only fun game that they're featured in. That's not true. Sonic Speed Battle on mobile. Jet is technically in that, and I have fun with that. But major console games.
What about the original writers? It's not that bad.
I could not get a handle on that.
No? Oh.
I mean, the intro's super cool, and all the designs are kind of funky, and I know that my inability to play it is not a game mechanics issue because I've seen other amazing stuff with it. I just could not figure it out. Zero Gravity, I was all over. I knew how to use that zero-G gimmick and just like destroy the courses. I had a ton of fun with Zero Gravity, and I seem to be like the odd one out. Oh. Free Riders was a hot mess, and I don't think I'm going to have to argue with anybody about that.
I believe the word you were looking for is abomination.
I mean, and I feel bad because they obviously tried. It wasn't just like a simple cash-in. They had lots of complicated stuff. They had, weapons that you activated with certain moves. You actually had to flip and turn and duck and weave on your imaginary board, like as if you were actually skating. The whole co-op thing where you could help each other through courses. There was obviously love and effort put into this game. It was arguably the best launch Connect game in terms of content and use of the hardware, but it was still garbage.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's really bad.
I came in 4th place sitting on my couch. Not moving.
Good job, Ian. I wish I could get in 4th place sitting on my couch all the time.
Because I had my couch pushed to the very back wall. And even then, the Kinect read my knees as my feet. So, Free Riders was on a bad platform. And if it had been just a standard release, it might have actually been a playable game.
I do like the Crush 40 version of the theme song.
True.
I don't mind the actual theme song either. It's not too bad.
And that isn't the fault of the Rogues. They were just put in a bad game. It's not their fault.
Yeah, it happens to Sonic all the time. You still like him, right?
Oh, you with your jokes.
I'm not joking about Sonic being in bad games. There have been plenty of bad Sonic games. It's not a joke. That's just a fact of life. It's fine. William L. is going to round out this massive, massive block of Q&A questions. I love The Darkest Storm arc, and was wondering... What? Oh, go ahead. What?
No, I'm just surprised somebody loved Darkest Storm.
And was wondering what it was like to bring all these up till the then disparate medieval characters and themes together for what I feel was one last DC Crisis level hurrah. Or just what your own thoughts on that arc are looking back. And also, what the heck is a Wentos, and do I apply jam to it?
We're going to go backwards. Wentos is the traveling salesman, Sonic Unleashed, who talks through a chow puppet, and no, you don't put him on jam. That would be weird.
Do you put jam on him?
No, he would not take that well. He's very, very skittish.
Oh, well, that's a shame.
As for Darkest Storm, that arc was tasked to me by the editor to wrap up as many loose threads from previous writers as possible so that it could pretty much be my run then on out. So I looked at all the super nerdy things that I wanted to address and said, okay, how do I do that in 3 issues? And what we got was the extremely dense Darkest Storm, which I'm surprised. I'm really happy you enjoyed it. Like, really, truly. I'm just a little surprised because most people seem to say that's the point where you can stop skipping the book and start reading it again, because it is really, really, really dense. We've gone over this on the show before. I think that story arc resolved like something like 33 individual plot lines.
I'm Ian, can you refresh my memory on the Darkest Storm arc? Because I can't remember it by name. If you
Darkest Storm was very basically Mammoth Mogul comes back, Ixis Naugus comes back, all their cronies come back.
Okay.
All the freedom fighters and all the chaotics join up against them.
Yes, okay.
I made the art team hate me for that 30-character page splash battle scene.
Okay, I do remember. Okay, I just didn't
Source
remember
of
it by
all
name.
gets destroyed. We establish the Order of Ixis, and it goes on and on and on and on.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that. Yes, it's a very dense arc. Okay, I remember. Okay, I just
Sir
couldn't remember.
Connery has this big mustache.
I just couldn't remember it by name.
So it was a big old soup pot full of percolating ideas, but by dingy, it's finished. It wrapped, and we moved on from there.
And in 3 issues, no less. Hot dang.
And set up the next storyline. So,
hey,
I don't know. I think if I were to go back and revise it, knowing what I know now, I would most definitely streamline it here and there, but for what it had to do in the time allotted and my own skill level at the time, I think it ain't bad. It's a pretty decent sort of, like William said, it's kind of a crisis level event, just everything hitting the fan at once.
Yeah. Which is always fun in its own way. And that's it. Speaking of crisis level events, I think we just had one.
It'd been so long. We owe the people a big, beefy episode.
Absolutely. Definitely, for sure. I don't even know how long we've been going on so far. Oh.
It doesn't matter. We made it through.
It's pretty long. It's pretty long.
Well, now that we're wrapping up, Kyle, where can they find you once the show is over?
You can find me on the internet at KyleJCRB on Twitter. You can also head on over to kngi.org where you can find archived episodes of the BumbleKast. You can also find the RSS feed there to throw that into your podcast catcher and immediately get downloads as soon as they get posted and get it on your podcast reader app of choice or on your phone or on your MP3 player. However you want to do it, you can just listen to the show there. You can also find my other show, Nitro Game Injection, which streams live on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, also at kngi.org. All of the information is there, and also plenty of other shows there for you to check out as well. So definitely head on over there. What about you, Ian?
You can find me on Twitter at IanFlynnBKC, or head over to BumbleKing.com, which has my con schedule, the release schedule of everything I'm working on, links to the BumbleKast, links to my portfolio, all sorts of good stuff.
And don't forget, you can also, that's also be where you'll find Lost Hedgehog Tales, an ongoing project that is currently on indefinite hiatus. It is on indefinite hiatus, but should come back someday.
If you want to reach out to the show, head over to Twitter at BumbleKast or email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com.
Don't forget, you can also, if you're a patron, you can join in on a Patreon-exclusive BumbleKast Gaming live streams on Sundays at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, which thankfully we've pretty much kept these going all throughout our little podcast break. So
8 to 10 p.m. Sunday evenings.
We've had stuff for you to listen to. Yeah, that's a rough time, but yeah, somewhere around there.
And if you want to further support us, head over to the Bumble Store. That's shop.spreadshirt.com/Bumble Store. Get yourself something emblazed with the BumbleKast logo, why don't you?
Yeah, get yourself something nice while you're at it.
Now, before we say goodbye, it's time to see if I can knock myself out by reading everybody's name.
Do it, Ian.
This is a big thank you to all the patrons who have stuck with us for so long and make this show possible. Thank you so much to Daniel H., Eric F., Alex P., Dragon Superfan, Brando, Scruffy Matt, Chris A., John B., Sam Cybercat, Mike B., Samuel P., Jennifer R., David C., Reverend Light, Lisa M., Digamama F., Wow, Aluesnoc, AE Double, Brody M., Neil H., Justin S., Justin G., David M. S., Adam T., Silly Street to Carl, Michael AQ, Lee HK, Chevelle Don B, Sin Fritz, Taco El Gato Comics, John M, S. Jovanovic 9X, James K, Tick Tick, Papadripadopoulos, Overthinking Films, Adam BT, and Ron.
Good old Ron. Man, I'm glad there's all those people still there. Thank you, everybody, for your support and for your
guys are awesome.
Yes, and for your massive patience during our short break there. We definitely appreciate that.
So this is going to wrap us up for episode 75 of the BumbleKast. We will see you in 2 weeks for realsies for episode 76. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye! That's the sound of your mind being blown, Ian.
I thought you were just going off an imaginary high dive. I was going to give you a 10.
Oh. Okay.
Cut. Okay.
Snip, sneep, sneep. Cut.
Pick up.
Cut. Shave to shave. Anyway, go ahead.
What is this, Mario's Barbershop?
No, it's Parappa the Rapper 2. Come on.
Ah, okay. I didn't play that.
You should. Hey, thanks for listening to the BumbleKast. If you like the show, be sure to hit that subscribe button and consider supporting us on Patreon. We have some great rewards, as well as big plans to make the show even better. Also, rate and review the show on iTunes. It gets more folks listening and really helps us out, so we definitely appreciate it. Original music by Ken Coda Snyder, used with permission. Find more of his music at bc.s3m.us and find the theme song at noisechanradio.bandcamp.com. Available as a pay what you want download. Uh-oh.
Sorry, hon. I'm apologizing. Yeah, well, I'm apologizing that you're missing out on quick.
You Canadians!
Alright, I'm going back in. Crisis averted.
Were you stuck in a sorry loop? Is that how Canada works? You get stuck in
a Canadian standoff. It's not a Mexican standoff.
Okay, you get stuck in a sorry loop or a sorry loop. I'm not sure.
No, excuse me. Canadian standoff is when you open the door for someone, but they say you go first. It's like, no, I'm holding it for you, but you're too kind. No, you go first. No, you go first. No, you go first. No, you go first. I'm sorry for holding up. You go first. No, I'm sorry that you are in this loop. You go first.
I like the idea of a sorry loop. That's funny. Also, did I hear that something melted through the time? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, we grabbed a peanut butter cookie for a late night sweet nibble, and Leah tossed it in the toaster oven, and somehow or another, the heat got bumped up from toast to melt your face. So the cookie has officially turned to goo and like melted through the rack and is just this gelatinous pile on the crumb catcher. So it is not cookie anymore.
Okay. I heard melted through the time, and I'm like, is he referring to time?
Times.
Oh, okay. I heard that. I heard time. Like, I was like, does he mean the spice? The seasoning time? Or does he mean
if it
like...
any hotter, it would have gone through the fourth dimension and burned somebody in the past or future.
Or does he mean literally melted through time? Like, whoa, dude, it's time travel. It melted through time.
When this thing gets up to 88 degrees, you're going to see some serious shit.
Man, 88 degrees is not even very hot.
Kelvin. I don't know.
Okay, sure. That'll work. 88 degrees Celsius.
Sure. Yeah, there we go.
That's pretty warm.